Why are we stopping at malls?
To get a gun.
Do you even know how to use it?
How hard can it be? Idiots use them all the time.
God.
June, I want to start with you because what was it like when you got this script and was like, oh my gosh, this is... Tell me your reaction.
I wanted to do it right away. I knew it was something that I wanted to do and should do. And a friend of mine, Kitty McMillan, who is in the audience tonight, reads all of my scripts. She read it, called me up and said, you've got to do this one. So it was just sort of everybody that read it loved it.
Yeah. And it's an incredible story. I mean, Josh, this is your, your grandmother's story, right?
It is, inspired by, yeah.
Take us back, like what was that? I'm assuming she has almost been scammed or has been scammed. Take us through the trigger that led us to Thelma.
Yeah, absolutely. So the scam in the movie is pretty much verbatim the scam that my grandma experienced a few years back, and luckily in real life we were able to intervene before any money exchanged hands, but it sort of got my wheels turning, and I started imagining what might have happened if she had sent the money and set out to get it back, and I feel like she would have done basically exactly what June does. And so that was the seed. That was sort of the nugget that I got excited about. And then it really became kind of an excuse to write, an ode to her tenacity and her spirit and, to a person who I've always admired and looked up to and felt a real sense of sort of kindredness.
And June, have you met the real life Thelma?
I have, and she's great. I walked in and I said, I'm Thelma Post. She said, no, I'm Thelma Post. But her mind is wonderful. She could carry on a conversation with anyone. She's very funny. She's just whatever you want to be at 104, she is.
Love that. And Zoë and Chris, this is the first film under the Bandwagon production banner. Congratulations to you both. I mean, come on, talk about you hearing about this story and being like, yes, we need to be on board with this. Take us through that.
Sure. Oh, ice cream cone. This seems good. Yeah. So we just knew we wanted to make it the second we read it. We read it in our writing group that the three of us, Josh, myself, and Chris, and our friend Chloe, Josh's longtime partner, are all in on Thursday nights, and we just right away. I knew that Josh wanted to make a movie and that his debut was going to be an ode to his grandmother. And then when we read it, it was like, yeah, the greatest thing ever. And we knew we wanted to try to make it happen.
We did some work on characters and things like that, but it was very minor. Like Josh's first go was already right there, and it was a no-brainer for us. It was the perfect thing to try to go and make for our first production together.
We've got to give a shout out to the casting because, my goodness, Richard Roundtree, Fred, June right here. I mean, putting this Parker Posey. Talk about putting this family together.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, so it came to me from Zoë and Josh, and I was told, we're making a movie, we want June Squibb to do it, we've sent it to her, we think she likes it, let's build a family around her. And I read it, and I believe the script that I read is basically what you see on the screen. I don't think much changed, and so it was very easy to start to see people in these roles, and the first person that I thought of was Fred, and I brought it up to them. Have you guys seen White Lotus? This was right after the first season had come out, and they're like, yeah, we don't think we'll get him though. And so I was like, well, your script is really good, let's try. And we sent it, and his fantastic agent, Jamie Pillett, called me and said he read it in 2 days, and he loves it, and he wants to do this. And so then we just had to start to think about who fills in the generation in between. We went back and forth with names, and it just started to solidify of who the people were that made sense in this family.
And this was Richard's last film, but sadly before he passed away. But that dynamic between Richard and June, come on, what was that like directing that and seeing them, as badass action stars?
Well, I'll say the nice thing for me was that they really loved each other and got along very quickly. It was sort of a similar thing with Fred. I think, you hope for that. You hope that the people that you've imagined in these roles will not only work for the roles, but obviously all gel together in the way you want. And we got really lucky in that way because Richard was also just one of the loveliest guys, really, really warm and charming and funny and cool. And I feel like anytime he was on set, we all were just, happy to see him. He showed up one day on we had a birthday for June on set, and he wasn't called that day. We were all wearing white wigs to celebrate our star. And Richard showed up in a huge white wig with a bouquet of flowers, and we didn't even know he was going to be there. He was just that kind of guy. And so what I'll say is, they made it pretty easy because I think there was a lot of natural respect and affection there.
Nick, your score. Nick also composed Shogun, which, if any of you've seen it, incredible score.
Thank you.
Coming into Thelma doing action comedy, I mean, what was your creative brief, and talk about your instruments for this?
By far the biggest change in the style that I've ever dealt with, and most of the music I do is usually with synthesizers and the computer, and with this we were doing no synthesizers and pretending like the computer didn't exist. I was brought on really early, and I was able to write like an hour and a half of music even before they shot, and started thinking about the tone, and then Josh could cut with the music I sent him, which like provided a really good bed, I think, to like jump off of. And then I think the big thing for me was deciding to like whose perspective we're scoring, and I think I've landed on, if we score it from Thelma's perspective and not the audience's perspective, it'll achieve the right amount of tension, because we'll be feeling what she's feeling and not never leaning into or like crossing the line of making fun of the character. I wanted to feel like we're on the journey with her, and we're feeling the stairs the same way she's feeling the stairs, but it also has to be fun at the same time. So it has to be fun, but not like funny, if that makes sense. It was a hard balance, and I think it took a lot of experimenting with all of us, and we were, like Zoe was mentioning, like they were in the room when I played the bass line at the end, and like it was sort of like a band dynamic almost.
Well, tone was such a delicate thing, and the music became such a huge piece of what kind of helped keep us in those lanes, I think. And yeah, it was. It's
hard. I mean, and so we went into the same studio that Lalo Schifrin, who wrote the original Mission Impossible theme, recorded the original Mission Impossible theme song in, and so we were like in the same complex and like recording in this old-fashioned way, and it was definitely like a really new experience and really fun.
So fun.
Yeah.
June, what was it like for you to play somebody like Thelma, who's such a beautiful, she's such a beautiful character who's just determined to prove her point?
Well, I think when you read the script, you really get who she is. I mean, Josh did a wonderful job with the script. And I just felt this was a woman I understood. I understood her grit, her determination. And I'm 94, and it's taken me a lot of grit and determination to get here, I'll tell you that. So I think I relate to her and to the fact that she's not going to let someone put something over on her, because I feel the same way.
We love that, right?
I really do.
As I said, when I introduced you, Hollywood's next action star. Who would you take? Who would you, your next film, right? Action movie. Who's your co-star?
What's the guy's name from the Bee thing?
Jason Statham?
Jason Statham.
There you go. June, Squibb, and
Beekeeper
Jason
himself.
Yeah.
And you're going to be writing this script for tonight, right?
If she'll have me.
Yes.
Incredible.
I'll have it.
I want to thank you all tonight for coming out. Spread the word. Thelma opens
June 21st.
There you go.
Two weekends from now.
2 weekends from now. I want to thank you, and thank you to this incredible panel, and thank you again for that.
Thank you all for coming.
Academy.
Really
Thank you all for
appreciate it.
coming.
Thank you all.